In this video, you will learn how to configure the TCMax Label Maker to print on your label printer and page printer, set the label size in your printer settings, select the items you'd like to print, and identify the different settings in the Label Maker and how they change what the printed label will look like. Label Maker is accessible from the menu bar under Tools. There are many different types of labels you can print in the screen. Since we are focusing on label configuration, we will only work with one type, items. After selecting the item's label type, the group box that contains the buttons to assist in loading content changes to items. You can load all items, specific items from item search, or a range of items by barcode sequence. Using the Load Items from Item Search button, we can select a series of items that we would like to print. When we are finished making our selection, clicking the Finish button loads the items to the grid. When we hit the Print tab, we can see the preview for the printer selected in our label definition settings in the Label Maker. Changing our printer to a label printer refreshes the preview window to the dimensions reported by the selected printer. In this case, opening the printer and scanner screen in Windows allows us to find the selected printer from our list of printers and view its printing preferences. The printing preferences here show an 1.5 inch wide by a 1/2 inch tall label is selected, which is reflected on the preview window. The Modify Label Detail screen allows us to select what kind of data we would like printed on the label for the type that we have selected with our barcode. On the preview window, we can see that not all the data shows and our barcode is not centered. This indicates that our label definition is incorrect for the dimensions provided by the label printer. To adjust these settings, we must click the Modify Label Definition button. On the Page Layout tab, we can observe the settings that govern how a page will print. In this instance, we make sure there is one column and one row per page to print each label separately. The Barcode and Label tab shows us the dimensions that the Label Maker is expecting to print. We know the label we will be using is a 1/2 inch, but our label height on the screen is set for a 1/4 inch. We need to adjust this setting appropriately. Our label width is also incorrect. Setting the correct label width to 1.5 inches will properly define what size label we will be printing on. Once the corrections are made, we can see the label is shifted on the screen. This is due to our page layout. Changing the top and left margins to 0 snap our preview back in place. These margin settings may need to be used later to fine-tune the final layout of your labels at print time. Printers may have different 0 coordinates that need to be accounted for that will only be discovered after print. While zooming in to see the label better in preview, we can make fine adjustments on the Barcode and Label tab. If we decrease the barcode height, we acquire more room to adjust the text font and size. In anticipation of increased character counts in our barcodes, we can allocate more space for the barcode width. If we change the settings for the printer and printer preferences to a different size label material, we see this change reflected in the preview pane when we refresh. With our new label sizes, we need to change the barcode and label sizes in the Label Maker to print appropriately, changing the label width and height to match the printer settings. With the new size, we have more real estate to adjust the barcode height, barcode width, and font size. Once we are satisfied with our settings, we can save our settings and see the result with live data on the print screen from the items we loaded earlier. Our label has the name, storage location, barcode number, and part number as we have specified. If we want to print labels on a page printer instead of a label printer, we can accomplish this by selecting the appropriate printer from the list. When we select the page printer, the preview window changes to the dimensions of the page the printer is expecting. We must now tell the Label Maker how to print on that page by adjusting the label definition. Noticing that the first label is too close to the top and the left of the page, we increase the top and left margins to a 1/4 inch each. Since we want more than one label per page, we can increase the number of columns and rows for the page. Zooming out, we can see the last column doesn't fit on the page. Adjusting the distance between columns will move it closer to center. If we increase the size of our labels on the page, they will run off the page again. Adjusting the distance between columns again allows us to use up more white space and bring the last column back onto the page. Once we are satisfied, we can click Done and view the preview pane of our page with the items that we have selected to print. For reprinting purposes, we can use the Save Data File button to store our selected items from the grid for later use. If we want to save our label settings in case we need to change label sizes again, we can click the Save Definition to File button from the Modify Label Definition screen. We will want to give it a name that describes the layout, in this case, 3 columns and 7 rows. We can also save label definitions for additional layouts. By switching back to our label printer, we can reconfigure a good looking label and save the settings. This time when we save the label definition, we will name it the size of the label, 1.5 inches by 1/2 inch. In order to remember this scenario, we use the label definition. If we need to resume printing on our page printer, after selecting the printer, we can load the saved label definition for the 3 columns by 7 rows file. For more TCMax videos and tutorials, subscribe to our channel. For more up-to-date information on TCMax, you can also follow us on social media.